Hey there, Proniacs. We're continuing with part 2, chapter 2, the changes. So painting the picture, 2 couches in the living room. There's a big, huge stuffed bear in the corner. My TV and video game set in the other corner. Slider to the back patio with a big tree in the backyard. And everything hits the fan. I was a big video game player, so in my life, when I was rebellious and when I got into trouble, which I did on occasion, that is being like, yes, I got in trouble a lot. So it wasn't very often that I got to play my Nintendo, the original Nintendo. I think it's 8-bit or 16-bit or whatever you call it now. Whoa, oh, it's a massive bunny. Do you see that bunny? A black bunny. That's crazy. Anyway, changes are dark. We'll continue this story. So, setting the stage, we have this, long shag carpet. It's 1987, 5 years old, and we are now talking about separation. We're breaking up the family unit. We sit down one morning and have the discussion. The discussion that I have no idea what we're talking about. Yeah, Dad's going away. He's going to be away for a while, and we're not going to be together again. What in the freak? Like, are you kidding me? To say that to a 5-year-old, oh, I couldn't imagine. Lydia's 6 right now, and if we were to say something like that to her, it would just be disastrous. And I didn't know what was going on, so I was like, just really, okay, Dad goes away a lot, right? He goes away on business trips, and we go to, I think at the time where we went to Lake Chelan, so we'd go to Lake Chelan first, and then he'd follow us there, right? And he had a plane, and he flew at the time, so we were very comfortably living. But when the family unit separates, and when you get that news, something just started to happen. The feeling that instability started to rise in me from looking back. And in instability comes rebellion and needing attention and needing to have some sort of connection, some attachment. And I remember the things that I'd attached to were the friends in the neighborhood, the people that were also rebellious, that I could have a great time. What brought me joy was to be destructive, was to get negative attention, was to bully in essence as well. That's where I developed a bullying mentality in my early years. So what happens next? Okay, I get my Nintendo taken away for being rebellious, right? I was getting in a lot of trouble. If you want to get specific, sure, I may have shit in a tire in the park, the community park. Well, I got caught. I may have broken the neighbor's window with a rock by hitting it with a baseball bat. Could have happened. I may have slammed my next door neighbor's head on the concrete, which was not intentional, and I got grounded for that. But there were several things that just continued to pile up as I went through those younger years. But I think if you've ever heard the question of, if you could be any age in your life, what would you want to be? A lot of people say 18 because of the freedom, 21 because, they can do anything that they want and everything that they want. And for me, it's 5. And I believe I say it's 5 because I had the most fun during that time up until the point of the separation of the family. So I had stability. I had what I needed, even though I didn't know this at the time, but I wasn't fully supported by my dad because he was away a lot. But that may have been like, no family's perfect, okay? But I had stability. I didn't need to worry about my friends moving away. I didn't have to worry about, going and making new friends or having to do new things. It was all just building on growth, right? Building on the stable foundation that you had with your friends, with your house, with your community. And that started to fall apart. And I think it really affected me to the point where I just continued that rebellion. I'm a very strong-willed and determined person. I found myself in the midst of doing an Ironman when I just decided that it's time to take it to the next level. But when I was a kid, the next level was just like, how can I get more attention? How can I be more destructive? How can I cause my parents so much more embarrassment, right? So I can understand the trauma that they went through in raising me as a kid. I mean, it got up super early in the morning, like 4:30, 5 a.m., right? Nobody got up until 6 or 7, 6:30. So I was watching the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, right? And I was watching whatever TV shows that I would while I was waiting for everybody else to get up, and just probably thinking about what kind of destructive things I could do throughout the day. Okay, let's go back. So that we have this conversation that is, we're no longer gonna be together, we're no longer gonna be a family unit, and I don't know what to expect. There's so much uncertainty, much like we had last year in 2020. Like, what is going to happen? And a 5-year-old in that instance is like, okay, now what? Okay, now what could go wrong, right? And is this my fault? Did I cause all this problem because I'm so rebellious and I don't want to listen to anything anybody has to say? I have a thing against authority, and I want to pursue that because it gives me all this negative attention and I love it. Well, it turns out it wasn't my fault, and I still to this day don't know the exact reason that it went down the way that it did, but I wanted to stay with my mom. That's what I knew. So that's what we did. We stayed in the home, and as the year went on, or 2 years, maybe 4 years, I don't really recall. I would imagine it would be the first year. My dad bought a new house on the golf course, and which is where my grandparents lived, and a couple of my friends lived, the Elvabacks, where Ryan Elvaback was a friend, or my friend, which my dad was friends with his dad. So that was a good relationship. They had kids the same age as me and my sister, so Ariel and Ryan, and myself, also a Ryan at the time, and my sister Renee would get together and they'd have parties, and they had a nice house. And so that was a really good environment for us to grow up and continue that friendship. But continuing on, everything changed. Everything changed when I went to spend time with my dad on occasion. So weeks at a time, it'd be like weeks here, weeks back with my mom, back with my dad. And it just became normal. That instability, that uncertainty of where I was gonna be and when was just normal. They had the plan, but I wasn't a planner at the time, so I had no idea, like, okay, am I going to dad's today or this week, or am I going to mom's this week? And so there's different buses to take me different places. And then the others came, and the others that came were, I was standing out front with outside. I was an outdoor kid. Oh, okay, let's back it up. Let's back this up. I want to introduce my grandparents. So Rich Lang and Wanda Lang were my grandparents, and they loved to spend time with us. Like, we would go over there for Christmases, for Thanksgiving, for anything and everything that we could. Holidays, weekends, whatever. And they had an awesome golf cart that Renee and I ended up driving into Wanda, my grandma's car, and that was a big ordeal, and it's super funny now that we look back on it, but she was pissed. And that was one thing that I remember that was so funny. I'm working the pedals and Renee's steering, and bam, right into her brand new Chrysler LeBaron, probably a 1986, 85 Chrysler LeBaron, which was Renee's first car, might I add. So take that, Renee. And so my grandparents were very loving, very accepting, very like, let's all have a good time. I want everybody to be supported. I want everybody to feel welcome. I want everybody to just be happy and feel the love. And that's what they did. So that was a good, stable stick of glue in my life, was that connection with my grandparents. So what did Grandpa do on, I believe it was my 6th birthday, right after they got a divorce? Or I think I was 6. We'll just say it was 6. I got a motorcycle. This was awesome. So what would a kid like myself, rebellious, destructive, do with a motorcycle? Anything and everything you could possibly do. Jump it, go crazy, run it into stuff. But I think that's where we're gonna stop this story. So chapter 2 is about changes. The family separates, my dad gets a new house, my mom stays in the house, I have to take 2 different buses when I go to school to go to the 2 separate houses, and then we'll introduce the others. That will be chapter 3. We'll talk about that later. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll talk to you chapter 3.